Australia, the land of koalas and kangaroos, one of the world's most advanced economies that constantly is competing with others such as Switzerland when it comes to quality of living. Australia as of 2021 has a GDP of 1.6 trillion US dollars. When it comes to the Human Development Index, it ranks 5th globally, surpassing the well-known future-thinking Scandinavian countries such as Sweden and Denmark. Some other amazing features this nation holds is its geographical placement that is absent of hostile or competitive nations that can pose a threat to Australia's sovereignty or its economic future. Speaking of the future, things seem bright for the Down Under nation as population projections all the way to 2050 look quite good, with a population increase of around 30% from the current population of 25.5 million to just about 36 million. This in combination with a staggering future population decline in many nations of the world, such as the upcoming population collapse of Eastern Europe, for example, is going to move Australia's geopolitical and economic influence even higher. Australia being a rapidly growing economy means that many problems slowing them down, such as labor shortage, are going to be created, but that doesn't pose a big threat because, as I stated earlier, many skilled migrants in the future, due to the population collapse, will be looking at Australia to provide themselves with a solid, well-paid career and therefore closing the gap of the economy, especially in sectors such as energy, agriculture and technology that can ultimately provide a significant boost to Australia's economy and produce. When it comes to energy, Australia has massive plans for the future in terms of green energy, specifically solar, with solar panels stretching through the interior of the nation in the vast deserts that are constantly being boiled by the sun. As renewables become even cheaper, plans to make Australia energy independent through green energy alone are starting to become more and more tangible. Even better, Australia could become a big green energy exporter for Oceania, but also all over the world. Plans to provide the rapidly growing economies of the Oceanian and Asian nations, such as the neighboring country of Indonesia that currently imports about 50% of its energy needs through crude oil, could create a huge source of income for the nation. So what needs to be understood is that there is a huge future for every Australian, but what is standing between today and that future is not sun, wind or technology, it is government policy and business cards. That is why Australia is making a big push towards more attractive business opportunities for foreign companies that are looking for a country to base their enterprise in. Michael Cannon Brooks, for example, one of Australia's wealthiest men and also a billionaire, says the country can become the largest exporter of energy, especially renewable. He says this is the single largest economic opportunity for the nation and the single last economic transition the world will go through decarbonizing all of our machines. Furthermore, he adds, due to its geographical placement, Australia is one of the sunniest, windiest places in the world, and that means it could provide the whole planet with the cheapest energy around, turning Australia into an energy superpower. When it comes to business opportunities, Australia is looking to sculpt new ways for agriculture to grow, through making the vast deserted lands of the island's core into greener areas. Experts say that could be achieved by creating man-made rivers and reservoirs in the interior. The Australian government has made efforts in the past in order to achieve such a result, but with no luck, due to the low funding and small support. If Australia manages to create a nationwide plan providing big support to terraforming companies to achieve that plan, we could be looking at a greener Australia in the coming decades that could facilitate it as one of the biggest, if not the biggest, agriculture producers globally. Truly, many people don't know how big Australia really is and how many crops it could potentially produce. Placing it over Europe does give us a very good idea though. Obviously, I'm not saying this is going to happen. Many people's opinions on the subject are quite negative, saying that a project such as this one is probably impossible, which if you look at the past, with so many failed attempts, does make some sense. But what needs to be understood is that there are definitely techniques that can accomplish greening of the island. However, the techniques require a lot of time and a gentle touch. Permaculture approaches would seek to build up the ecosystem and prevent water runoff, trapping moisture beneath the soil, which is a key ingredient, providing shade to standing water and encouraging soil carbon increases. This requires patience, experience, and thoughtfulness towards the existing topology. It has, however, proved itself again and again on individual properties. If history has taught us anything, it is that dumping water by the meg is not the right approach. So let's say hypothetically Australia does manage to green the interior. What's next? Well, obviously, as stated earlier, agriculture would boom. Also, average temperatures in the climate would become more mild, meaning that more settlements could be achieved inland, connecting and expanding the before limited city network of Australia from the coastlines to all over the island. Furthermore, I know I'm going out on a limb here, but that would probably mean that a way bigger population for Australia could be cared for, which in turn would boost its economy even further. Anyways, apart from just brainstorming, the Australian government itself says population growth is inevitable if historical fertility and immigration trends continue. Population growth supports higher economic growth, but it also puts pressure on Australia's infrastructure. It can be sustainable provided governments take steps now to meet challenges and opportunities in infrastructure, service delivery, and the environment. Changing the subjects a bit and moving to geopolitics, there are a lot of ways for Australia to strengthen its foreign policy, with suggested unions such as CANZUK, a union between Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand. It would pretty much work just like the European Union, meaning that population movement and trade would become much easier, but at the same time, due to those nations being so similar and cohesive, it would mean the cooperation between them would be much easier of that of the EU. Another proposed union is the one between Australia and New Zealand becoming one unified country. As of today, there is not much need for that to happen, but with the current world conflicts and tensions rising, there might be a time in the near future that such a union would be mandatory to be able to compete with the upcoming world economies. After all, many say Australia and New Zealand already operate very similarly, so a union between the two wouldn't demand huge changes. Well, that was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. This time I tried to put a little of my own spin and opinions on the subject and not just sticking to the facts and what is well known already. If you think that was a good idea, please let me know down below by leaving a like, sharing it with your friends, and maybe even a comment on what I should cover next. You are free to dislike the video if you found it misleading, and even correct me if something I shared with you was misinformation. Again though, thank you for watching and see you again on the next video. Until then, have a great day.